Hello guys, welcome to part 2 of our video series, where we look at how to actually learn Python coding with your smartphone. Okay, so in the previous video we looked at how to display things on the screen, on the screen, and also we looked at how to get inputs from the user. Now, well, in this video we're just gonna look at different data types that you can get from the user. All right. Without wasting any time, let's check them. So we said we get inputs from the user by using an input command, right? So all you need to say is say input, and then you tell the user what to do. Say enter and a value. All right, so we're just gonna put this under a variable. Gonna store it in a variable called value. All right, so when I do this, run this program, it says enter a value. A user can, okay, there's no space there. All right, a user can enter a value like 30, right? Let's just create some space there so that this thing displays nice. Okay, like that. Yeah, so enter a value. A user can enter a 3. When they run this program now, it took that 3. However, that 3, I want to explain this. When you get things from that input stream, or that input command, they come in a form of a string. And the string, what we mean about a string, it's anything that can be stored inside these two quotations. So like my name is blah blah blah. That's a string. This is what we call a string data type. All right, so let's look at some basics. This we call them basic data types, which you will actually, you probably using one of these or all of them in your actual code. So looking at that, we have a string for strings like this, for sentences, and we also have what's this, we have numbers, right? So numbers, it will be integers because we have different numbers. So integers, it will be numbers like your 1, 2, 3, and so on. And we have the last data type, of which is called the float or double, of which this will be those numbers that the decimal numbers like 1.33, 2.50, some, all those ones. So that data type, it will be called a float. So so these are the three basic data types you'll be using most of the time, all of this. So whenever you get values from the input stream, they come in a form of a string like this, right? So even though maybe you got, like, when we typed 3, that 3 was not a 3 like this. This 3 is considered the one that I just wrote there as an integer. That one is an integer, right? It's the second data type, right? So you can see that it's an integer. However, input stream, everything we get from an input stream, it comes in a form of a string. So it comes like this. The 3 would be like that, right? So that I'll just write str for string. That data type of a string, you can't do mathematical calculations with it. You can only do mathematical calculations with integers and floats, right? You can add them and say 3 plus 1 is 4, it's equals to 4, right? But you can't say a string, you can't combine it two data types like a string plus an integer, do something like this. say that 3 plus 1, for example, and try to calculate, make Python to calculate something like this. These are two data types. Python will give you an error instead. In fact, let's just do that so that we see. So here we are going to get a number from a user and then display that number. So here I would say value, because we stored it under this variable value plus 1. All right. Let's cancel all these things because the program will crash if we don't do that. So let's cancel all these nodes. All right. So we are going to get a value from the user and then add 1 on top of it. So like 3, right, plus 1. Now look at this. This is giving us an error, right? Because what we are doing here, we are getting a string and then we are trying to add 1 on that string. So is that example where I said it's what we're doing? We are actually getting a 3 like this, and then we are trying to add 1 to that, like that. That's what we are trying to. So of which is an error. We need to either make the data types, they need to be the same, not a string plus an integer. All right. So if you want to do calculations, mathematical calculations, we are going to we have to convert the 3 from the input stream, right? So that it becomes 3 plus 1, you know. So in order to do that, you just come here to convert whatever that comes from the input stream into an integer. So you put it inside this int function, and we'll look at functions later. You put it inside that int function to convert it. So basically what that function does, it takes a string, it returns an integer. It takes a string number and then it returns it in a form of an integer. Now this should be able to calculate a 3 plus 1. You see, now it's 4. All right, now it's giving us 4 again. On that, what if on that example of ours, if we wanted to add 1 to that string and make it something like this, and make it 31, right? I just want to add 1 into that string to be a 31 string. So you see there, in that case, I'll have to convert the 1 into a string data type like this, because Python can only understand the the data types that are the same. So when you make these things, make sure that your data types are the same. So this becomes 3 plus 1, and it's called, this is what we call concatenating. You know, when you concatenate a string, you just combine a string, like we did on the previous example where I said my name is, and then we added the name part at the end, and then it became my name is Dave, right? So yeah, so that's how you actually take inputs that are in a form of integer, right? But if you're dealing with what's this, values that are decimal, like money, you know, in that case you would want to get those values in a form of a float, right? Because you're dealing with something with decimal. So a float, let's just check it. A float, it will change that input stream from a string, this float function, into something like for example, if it's 3, right, that input stream, it is string, it will change that into 3.0. That's what float is, right? When we looked at those data types, it will be 3.0. You know, it changes it into decimal places. And well, with floats you can actually do a float plus integer. There's no problem with that. meaning I can say, as you can see here, I can say 3.0 plus 1, and it will be able to calculate those because both are numbers, right? So it will consider this one as 1.0 by default. So it will be able to run something like that. So let's just cancel this because here I'm not actually, just cancel this and get, yeah, and run the program. So if I say 3 there, it will say plus 1, right? But that 3 is a float. It will become what? A 4.0, right? Let's run it again. So now with this float, I can take things like 3.2, of which is going to be 4.2, right? With an integer function, if you say, if you give the input stream a 3.2, it's going to cancel the other two. In fact, let's just do that and then end this video because I don't want it to be long. So like that. So if I say 4.2, right? 4.2, it's in a float format, right? But that function then, the one that converts these things, it's actually in what? It's taking an integer. Oh, so well, all right. So as you can see, it doesn't allow you to give a float and then try to change it into an integer, so make sure that you don't confuse the two. An integer should be an integer and a float should be a float. All right, well, that's it, guys, on this video. Now at least you know how to actually differentiate between different data types of the ones that you are getting from the user, and how to actually do the correct conversion in order to achieve whatever that you want to achieve. Well, until next time, cheers.